Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for joining me. And I shall take you for an hour to the journey of poetry, and that also English poetry. And I appreciate you all having joining me, and you all are right on time. Thank you very much. English poetry. Let's talk about poetry. Where does it originate? We all have a poet among us, and there is someone talking to us. Why do we talk forms literature? Many a time, to begin with, let me build a preface here. To build a preface, we talk of culture. Punjabi culture, Odia culture, English culture, Western culture, Eastern culture, plenty of cultures, diversified cultures. Now, culture incorporates three main fundamental issues. What are they? They are literature, science, and arts. If we say Odia culture means how scientifically we live, how artistically we live, the way we wear, the way we comb our hair, the way we decorate our house. Artistically. Literature, the kind of literature, the kind of words we use, the kind of language we use, kind of greetings we do, they all form literature. Now, out of literature, there are plenty of things happen. Literature is always in action. We cry, we talk, we smile. It's all about literature. We are in pain, we are happy, we are greeting somebody, we are attending some festivities, we are celebrating, we are mourning. Plenty of things are happening. And out of that, literature keep playing. The famous writer Sarvepalli Radhakrishnan, he says, according to his books and literature, he says that you can survive without food. You can survive without anything. You cannot survive without right kind of literature. In his book, he meant that if you do not know how to talk, how to feel, how to react, you don't live. In English, the earliest known English poem was a hymn. Hymn means the devotional songs, the songs which demanded from the Almighty. People had lot of misery, lot of pain. They always asked God for something and they sang in His praise. They were called hymns. According to Bede, he attributes that actually no one knows who began English poetry. In Cadman, it is believed that a Cadman was a herdsman. Herdsman means he was a shepherd. He took cattle for grazing. And he used to sing loud in praise of God, to whom he had not seen. And towards the 658 to 680 AD, according to legend, an illiterate herdsman who produced extemporaneous poetry. Extemporaneous means nothing written, not recorded, no volumes are recorded. He just sang. And same line, he wrote few lines and he repeated them again and again in different tone, And Whitby, this is generally taken as marking of beginning of Anglo-Saxon poetry. The poetry was The poetry was there, not recorded. They did not know the way you write with certain kind of beats and meter, etc. But poetry started like this. Then one heard man, then others also started. Much of the poetry of the period is difficult to date or even to arrange chronologically who wrote first and who came later. It passed on from strength to strength and from person to person, from age to age. Now, how did this sing? What happens when you sing? Where does the poetry actually come out from your body? There are two kinds of things keep on happening. One is called monologue and other is called dialogue. Monologue, you are talking to yourself. How did it happen to me? How did it happen to me? Why did it happen to me? Why people are saying me? You are being forced to build upon a sentence after this sentence, and they become so much that you burst out with certain few words and you say, God, this is how I have to live. And then you start thinking of something else. In a parable of Beowulf, he recorded sometimes in 608 AD. Again, in Egyptian civilization, there was a papyrus, leaf of papyrus. This tree still grows in the Tigris and Euphrates. There are two rivers in Mesopotamian civilization, Tigris and Euphrates. In the bank of River Nile, these trees grew. And people used to write on this tree leaves, papyrus leaves. And the word paper comes from papyrus. And when they started writing, a person had written. His name was Beowulf. He was sleeping, his master had tortured him, master had spoken a lot of things to him which hurt him. He slept. When he got up, he found lot many drops of tears all around his cheek. And he formed an idea, my dear, tears, you are so many droplets. My master is just alone. These droplets of tears will certainly defeat him, no matter what. He wrote about tears, my fallen tears. His poem was there, my fallen tears. This is the idea of a literature. You console yourself, monologues takes place. Other is called dialogue. You are talking to somebody. Now, when you are talking to somebody, what is happening? Appreciation, denial, agreement, appreciation, avenging, revenging, all these things take place. A poet is a monologuist. He deals all by himself or herself, and everything he or she feels for themselves. There is no nuclear weapon to kill others, but there is a nuclear weapon made out of sharp emotions, deep emotions, and good words. Sometimes, if you talk about me, I have a lot of problems at times. But when I have written, I have done my job. I have taken my revenge. These are called monologues. Generally, poets are, and the poetry comes out of monologues. Monologues are very important. That's called self-dialogue. You must dialogue. How you feel? Why do you feel? You question yourself. And this is how words generate, vocabulary generate. And these vocabulary constitute with the serum of emotions a poetry, a poem. The Dream of the Root was, as in English literature, it was the first of the poem which was known as recorded, the Dream of the Root. It was written before Circa ruled in Norman civilization around 700 AD. And the Ruthwell Cross. Then in 937 something, Battle of the Battle of Malden in 991 AD. They were reasonably out of consequences what the individual felt, but there was no voluminous modern poetry still there. By and large, Anglo-Saxon poetry had a manuscript. It survived, but the others didn't have manuscript, so they didn't survive. They were dialects. Those which were written in dialects, it was not carried forward. No one put them in the ink. The most important manuscripts are the four great poetical codices at the late of 10th century to 11th centuries around. There were Cadman manuscript, Vercelli book, Exeter book, Burleigh manuscript. It will not interest you anyhow. It is the very deep history of English poetry. The ruin. There was a famous poet, Bath, the famous work of The Ruin, Finnsburg Fragment by Valdere, riddles and charms. Riddles like, I have a teeth, I cannot bite, what am I am a corn. Riddles. In Hindi also you have riddles. In Hindi, आप जब हिंदी साहित्य को देखेंगे तो उसमें भी जब कविताओं का शुरुआत हुआ तो लोग पहले बुझौल कहते थे. मैथिली शरण गुप्त लिखते हैं, उसे बुझौल कहते थे. जैसे चार खूंटे का घर बनाया, चार कुएं बिन पानी, उसमें 18 चोर थे, संग लिए एक रानी. उसमें एक दरोगा आया, मार मार कर सबको कुएं के बीच गिराया. बोलो मैं क्या हूं? मैं कैरम बोर्ड हूं. ये शुरुआती दौर के कविताएं ऐसे होते थे. आप लोगों ने पिछले मेरे फीडबैक में लिखे कि मैं बाइलिंगुअल हो जाऊं, तो मैं कोशिश करूंगा जहां जरूरत है मैं बाइलिंगुअल भी बात करूं आपसे. वैसे ही और भी हिंदी में इस तरह की कविताओं की शुरुआत हुई थी, जैसे पार जैसा पेड़, तलवार जैसा पत्ता, माथे में जटा और गोदी में बच्चा. बोलो मैं क्या हूं? मैं मकई का पेड़ हूं. तार जैसा पेड़, तलवार जैसा पत्ता, माथे में जटा और गोदी में बच्चा. सटायर, जो हम इंग्लिश में कहते हैं सटायर, व्यंग्यात्मक कविताएं हैं, हिंदी में भी है. लेकिन हिंदी में लिखने की शैली, शब्दों की शैली कुछ और होते हैं, अंग्रेजी में कुछ और होते हैं. भावनाओं का भी फर्क है. किसी चीज को हम कैसे समझते हैं, वो इंग्लिश की अपनी सभ्यता के हिसाब से समझते हैं, हिंदी वाले हिंदी की सभ्यता के हिसाब से समझते हैं. आप हिंदी में देखिए, कहते हैं हाथ में घड़ी, आंख में चश्मा, फाउंटेन पेन लगाता हूं, मैं भी कुछ कहलाता हूं. ये व्यंग है. हाथ में घड़ी, आंख में चश्मा, फाउंटेन पेन लगाता हूं, अब तो मैं भी कुछ कहलाता हूं. हाथ में घड़ी, आंख में चश्मा, फाउंटेन पेन लगाता हूं. चूल्हे के राख से चंदन लगाता हूं, एकादशी, द्वादशी, त्रयोदशी बताता हूं, अब तो मैं भी कुछ कहलाता हूं. हाथ में घड़ी, आंख में चश्मा, फाउंटेन पेन लगाता हूं. ये व्यंग है. Similarly, in English also, you will find all these pattern of poetry, but it was not categorized because who was writing, how was the writing. Sometimes most of these poetries and literature was limited in the king's court. There were plenty of kings. All kings had their courtiers. In those courtiers, they used to sing in the praise of king, his majesty, and the majesty would be happy and he would throw the pearls to the poet, and that was the end of the poetry, and the poetry was not recorded. This is how most of the important literary works we lost without having recorded them. Some were lost because we did not have manuscript. Some were lost, we did not have a printing facility, we did not have writing facility. Ink was not discovered, scientific approach was not there, and we lost many of them. That's sad. But whatever we have gathered till now is also no less. The Normans, it will be important to tell you, the Normans were fighting in England with the British soldiers. And Norman conquered England. When Normans conquered England, it was the beginning of around 1100, 11 AD, and the Anglo-Saxon language rapidly diminished. Now you worked for so much for one language, suddenly language itself vanished. Therefore, literary work itself vanished and translation. Those who were in aristocracy, those who were well-off people, they spoke predominantly in Norman. That was ancient English. Now English, we say that the British English. Now in England, English is spoken in a different way. You go to lower counties, they speak different. They speak Konkani English. Most part of America and the English-speaking countries, they have Spanish as the main language. Therefore, English became in a aristocracy. The new aristocracy spoke predominantly Norman language, and this became a standard language for the courts also, where the kings sat. And polite society, of course. As the invaders integrated, their language and literature mingled with that of the natives. Then came the oil dialect. Oil dialect means I spoke some language, you spoke some language, both of us mixed together and it became one language. What in Hindi, they call it Tatbhav or Tadbhav Sabd. तो वहाँ पर एक साहित्य के इतिहास में आंदोलन शुरू हो गया, एक क्रांति आ गई. As the invaders integrated, their language and literature mingled, and they become oil dialect. Then Middle Era English. पुनः जागरण का समय था और Renaissance came for literature. Renaissance came very late to England. It was very slow, and it reached there around in 1509. Generally accepted that English Renaissance extended. Restoration in 1660. You can see that it took more than 100 years to work out and to restore the literature. However, a number of factors had prepared the way for introduction of new learning long before this started. A number of medieval poets, for now not known, as already noted, shown an interest in the idea of Aristotle and the writings of European Renaissance precursors such as Dante. Now Aristotle and Dante, when they came, they established the foundation of English poetry. I do not wish to take you very long in the history of English poetry. However, I aim to organize you that learn to appreciate poetry and become a part of poetry. To become a poet, believe me, you do not need to know how to write a poem. If you can listen to it, you are still a poet. If you can listen and may not be able to greet about it, may not be able to give any feedback about it, still you are a poet because you have listened to it. If you have understood someone silently, you are a poet. If you have understood someone's pain, someone's pleasure, if you have learned, a sentence is written. When a sentence is written, actually the meaning is not the sentence, the words used in the sentence. The meaning is about the punctuations in the sentence. See a person crying. The meaning is not in his tears. Meaning is about how does he stop while crying and how does he pick up to cry in different throat. Sometimes his throat goes short. Sometimes the tears dry out on the cheek. Sometimes the tears becomes the pearl's droplet. Sometimes the tears are so painful, it dries and again it finds a new stream to flow. You do not need to speak anything. If you have understood, you are a poet. It's not only about pain, it's also about pleasure. It's also about appreciation. It's also your silence you may not be physically together, your silence can make you feel together. Those who learn to read and understand these, they become a poet. All poets do not write. All poets do not have poems in the credit. All poets are not published, but we all are poet in our rights, in our understanding, because without a listener, without a person who understands, no literature brings much meaning. In addition, the writing of English humanists like Thomas More, Thomas Eliot, they also helped with their attitude building sense among the English audience, and the poetry was still evolving. Three factors, that is the Reformation, Church of England, Nicholas Copernicus and Johannes Kepler. These are the few names I must tell you about them. Reformations brought literature because the majesties do not allow to speak or to criticize anything directly. Therefore, reformers came and they wrote a poem and spoke indirectly whatever they had to speak. And Church of England was the first one. Everybody, whatever they had to say to their king, they used to say to the God. Like in Hindi literature, everything we want to say, we add Radha Krishna. Radha Krishna के भजन में आप देखेंगे मीरा की भजन है, हाँ मीरा की भजन है, और भी बहुत सारे भजन हैं. आप देखिए हमारे संवेदना उसके साथ किस तरह से जुड़ा गया है. Those are beautiful words. This is how English poetry started taking shape with the hymns of church in England. Our school children sing Abide With Me. See beautiful words there. We sing in school, Across the Bridge There Is No More Sorrow. It's a poem by Jim Reeves. And see how beautifully it is written. They started taking shape. Later, Nicholas Copernicus, Johannes Kepler, they were also the astronomers. They also became the part of the poetic society and started becoming the poet. I can keep on saying you like this, but it will not interest you much. I do read literature and I am involved with it deeply. I have many poets I have read, but some of the poets, according to me, are my favorites. I have listed them chronologically. You can have your poets, your favorites, and it can happen that your favorite poet I have not listed. You will excuse me for that. William Wordsworth, my best poet. Samuel Taylor Coleridge, William Shakespeare, Alfred Lord Tennyson, Percy Bysshe Shelley, John Keats, Lord Byron, Rabindranath Tagore, John Milton, Elizabeth Browning, Robert Browning. These are 11 poets I have listed you. They are my favorite poets. I read them voraciously. You may read others, doesn't matter. It matters that you read. I may not be able to cover all of them in this program. And a couple of my colleagues, I'm thankful to Mr. Lavdeep Singh. He had been after my life to do a program or to discuss poetry voraciously with him. I have some of the teachers, my vice principal, Prabjot Kaur also. After my program, I'll be posting their poetry. They were the instrument to encourage, to bring out with this edition of program. William Wordsworth, of course, my favorite poet. Yours also, some of you must be liking him. You must have read various poems in your school days, in your college days. Wordsworth was born to John Wordsworth and Annie Coxon on 7th April 1770 in northwest of England as the second of 5 children. There were 5 brothers and sisters. He was second of them. Nothing much is, there will be enough to say about him. But you know, he wrote many poems. But you know, something great, striking about was that between 1798 to 1801, he wrote poems which had the mention of a girl named Lucy. All of you must have heard of Lucy. Now, this girl's name appears in almost all of the poems. Now, it's still a mystery who was this girl. Whenever William Wordsworth was alive and he was asked, he said that he did not know her. It was all imaginary. But many others say that it wasn't. William Wordsworth was in silent love with a girl and he portrayed her like that. Which one is correct, we don't know. But those few poems, there are around 5, especially 5 poems are called Lucy poems. And Lucy, he kills Lucy in one of his poems when she was young. After that, Lucy never appeared in his further poetry. Lucy was a figment of Wordsworth's imagination or real person is certainly not known, and the character remains a matter of intense speculation among historians and also among his fans. I shall recite one poem from him, Strange Fits of Passion. Lucy dies in this poem. And how beautifully he narrates his journey, you will appreciate. He says, strange fits of passion have I known. Now, strange fits of passion have I known. Feeling is fine, but fits of feeling mean many feelings coming together, finding no words to express is called fits of passion. Strange fits of passion have I known. And then he says, he finds somebody to share with. He says, I will tell the lovers here alone what once to me we felt. Second stanza he says, when she I loved looked every day, fresh as a rose in June, I to her cottage bent my way beneath an evening moon. When she I loved looked every day, fresh as a rose in June. In England, in the month of June, roses are at the full blow. He admires Lucy comparing the flowers. And then say, upon the moon, and now we reach in the orchard plot. He's saying that he is going to meet Lucy. He's going to meet Lucy. He says, and now we reach in the orchard plot, and as we climb the hill, the sinking moon to Lucy's cot came near and nearer still. There were no watch. He had planned that before the moon drops in the sky, he would reach the cottage of Lucy. And he says, and now we reach in the orchard plot, and as we climb the hill, the sinking moon to Lucy's cot came nearer and nearer still. Then he was worried, will the moon drop down without he having reached there? Then he writes, upon the moon I fixed my eye, upon the moon I fixed my eye, all over the wide lea, with quickening pace by horse drew nigh, those paths were so dear to me. He appreciates that not only Lucy, not only the cottage, the path on which he travels, that path is also dear to him. He got tired, he slept. He slept, he had a dream. He says, in the dream what happened? In one of those sweet dreams I slept, kind nature's gentlest boon, and all the while my eyes I kept on the descending moon. While sleeping also, his eyes were fixed on the moon. Then he had a dream. He further narrates about the dream. In one of those sweet dreams I slept, kind nature's gentlest boon, and all the while my eyes I kept on the descending moon. But what happened? When he got up, the moon was dropped. And he said, what fond and wayward thoughts would slide into the lover's head? God, mercy to myself if Lucy is dead. and he believed that moon is gone down, he could not reach, the cottage up is far, and the Lucy is dead. But in fact, Lucy was not dead if she was there. This is the beauty of the poem of William Wordsworth. William Wordsworth always had a vision, nature, and he had monologues. I like him because he tried to conquer literary arts with monologues. He did not interact much in a public domain, but still, whatever he did it on a paper, and with that paper, he's a warrior. He won a biggest battle of literature. He actually pierced the darkness to the light of literature. William Shakespeare, he was also from England. He was born in Stratford, and his wife Annie Hathaway was quite elderly comparing the age of William Shakespeare. And William Shakespeare, he wrote and whatnot. More we say, lesser it is. In one of his lines, I remember, time is very slow for those who wait. Look at the lines. Time is very slow for those who wait, very fast for those who are scared. It must connect you somewhere. Those who wait, very fast for those who are scared, very long for those who lament, very short for those who celebrate, very short for those who celebrate, but for those who love, time is eternal. Now, just for those who love, time is eternal. This love, Shakespeare mentions, is not related to a physical love. He's talking of eternal. Love itself forms the biggest bond. Love your children, love your brother, love your sister, love your beloved, love God, love your profession. Whatever you love, love is eternal. But you must know, love seeks no impurities. Love is eternal. Love means love seeks no impurities. Impurities are mingled with love when you write with the ifs and buts and lack of faith. Shakespeare is widely known for sonnets. There are plenty of sonnets. Sonnets are like the folk songs we sing in India. बारहमासा गाते हैं, हिंदी में बारहमासा गाते हैं. आप खेतों में जब धान लगाते हैं तो वहां महिलाएं गाती हैं. कुछ एक तिमासा होता है, कुछ एक फोक सॉन्ग्स ऐसे होते हैं जो विवाह में गाते हैं. आप बिहार में जाएंगे, ईस्ट इंडिया में, बिहार, बंगाल, आसाम, वहां पर हर एक ओकेजन्स के लिए गाने होते हैं. हर एक रिलीजियस फेस्टिवल के लिए गाने होते हैं. महिलाएं आती हैं और गाना गाते हैं वहां पे. उनके बिना वो होता नहीं है. आप जितना भी लाउड स्पीकर लगा लें और मूवी सॉन्ग लगा लें, उससे नहीं होता है. ये हमारा संस्कृति है. Sonnets originated from the deepest culture, from the backyard of England. Had Shakespeare not mentioned, had Shakespeare not compiled those sonnets, not written them, probably 2/3 of the British culture or English culture would not have been in public domain. William Shakespeare, there are plenty of sonnets I have picked up. I'll tell you a few lines from sonnet number 118, 118. Sonnets are 16 lines. It's a 14 line. It's a 14 line. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Thou art more lovely and more temperate. Rough winds to shake the darling birds of May, and summer's leaves hath all too short a date. Sometime too hot the eye of the heaven shines, and often its gold complexion dimmed. And every fair from fair sometime declines by chance or nature's changing course untrimmed. But the eternal summer shall not fade. But the eternal summer shall not fade, nor lose possession of that fair thou owest. Nor shall death brag you, wanderest in his shade, when in eternal lines to time thou growest, so long as men can breathe or eyes can see, so long lives this hand his gives life to thee. Last two lines. So long as men can breathe or eyes can see, so long lives this and this gives life to thee. It's about life. Sonnets. Nowadays, sonnets are not written. People are not writing them. They find contemporary literature is totally different than the ancient literature. However, may it be contemporary, or may it be ancient, or may it be medieval, the beauty itself lies with the combination of words and the way it is being projected. Tradition was another poet from 19th century, Alfred Lord Tennyson. He lived between 1809 and 1892. English has various ages. I do not wish to go in that detail. It has a Victorian age, it is an Elizabethan era, it is medieval era, etc. I'm not just getting into that. Victorian era. Victorian era was very important. I must tell you a few lines about it. When the Queen Victoria was there, that was the time, that was the race in England. You will see the architect of Victorian era, the Victorian buildings, a Haveli style, huge house, tall roofs, huge gates. Why? Because that was the race for treason, conspiracy, war, plotting. That was the architectural design of Victorian era. During that era, whosoever wrote, they are talking of similar design of thoughts. The thought processes, as the history evolves, thought processes change. All parents or all children say, there's a generation gap with my dad, and the dad also had said same thing about his dad, and his dad also said something about his dad. Therefore, this is called not generation gap, it is called development. It is called development. My son would be better than me. I am better than my dad. My dad would be better than my granddad. This is how we are projected to. When we came to 19th century, things were changed. Alfred Lord Tennyson. But your feelings should not change. That was the Romantic age also in 1850 and held the position. He had 42 years from 1850 to 1892. He was doing too good. And he wrote something wonderful, which probably no one can do it, is called Alcestis, Tithonus, the Eagle and the Memoriam. I had read one of his short poems. He was a very good friend he had a friend, Arthur Hallam. Tennyson, along with Arthur Hallam, always went to the shore. Tennyson did not know how to swim, but Arthur Hallam knew how to swim. Every day, towards the dusk, Arthur Hallam would go to the sea and he would swim farther and take a dip into the water and show his hand. And again he would challenge him that he could go farther. Every day he did it. One day it so happened that Arthur Hallam said, more, 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 and he kept going away farther from Tennyson. And finally his hand became shorter. It was going deeper, deeper, deeper into the water, and finally hand was not seen. Tennyson kept on crying, come back, come back, come back. But the sound did not reach for whom it was spoken. The sound faded. He kept on shouting. It was late. He waited. Next morning, tension came again. He called for his friend, but friend was not there. Since then, for many, many days, tension would go there and call for his friend, but the friend did not return. Then he shouted at the shore where the rocks were lying. Grey stones were lying all around. He shouted with a full voice, break, 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 cold, grey, thy stones. Cold means unkind. Break, 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 cold, grey, thy stones. Thy vanishing hand is touching me yet. He says that your hands were vanishing, but it was touching me. Physically not touching, but what was it touching? It was touching somewhere his feelings. There comes the poem, break, break, break. Oh, cold grey, thy stones break. Thy vanishing hand is touching me yet. That's the beauty of the poem. Tennyson is no longer, Arthur Hallam is no longer. The poem survives. That's the beauty of. Tennyson, before dying, says, release me and restore me to the ground. Release me and restore me to the ground. Thou seest all things, thou wilt see my grave. Thou wilt renew thy beauty barn by barn. I, earth in earth, forget these empty courts and thee returning on thy silver wheels. Deeply treasures. Release me from where? हम आपको बताएं, टिथोनस, जब टेनिसन साहब ने लिखा टिथोनस, तो टिथोनस एक ग्रीक का लेजेंड था. He was a Greek legend. तो उन्होंने पोर्ट्रे किया अपने कविता पे. तो ईओस जो है वो ग्रीक सिविलाइजेशन में एक देवी है, ईओएस. उनको गॉडेस ऑफ जेलसी कहा जाता है. गॉडेस ऑफ जेलसी, ईर्ष्या की देवी. तो इन्होंने ईर्ष्या की देवी से प्रार्थना किया, तो टिथोनस को देवी मिल गई. इन्होंने वरदान मांग लिया. तो एक ईओस पूछती हैं कि what will you be blessed with if I have to grant a boon to you? Tithonus says, her kindness, please grant me with the boon of immortality. Please grant me with the boon of immortality. मुझे ऐसा वरदान दीजिए कि मैं कभी ना मरूं. ईओस ने कहा, so shall be done. और इन्हें वरदान मिल गया. Tithonus forgot that he would not die, लेकिन he will grow old. His bones will not be as strong to hold the muscles of his own weight. Then what? Physical pain began. And he became so sorrowful that he prayed once again to Eos, and Eos reappeared. Eos said, yes, my child. Tithonus says, will you take your blessings back? Eos said, I have no power to take it back. I can only give. And Tithonus did not die, and he remains in pain. And those, according to Greek mythology, all those of us who are having pain, we are sharing the pain of Tithonus. हम सभी को जो दर्द होता है, तकलीफ होता है, वो हम टिथोनस भगवान थे, लेजेंड थे, तो हम उनका जो दर्द शेयर कर रहे हैं. It was Tithonus is one of the great legendary poem from Alfred Lord Tennyson's. Shelley, P.B. Shelley, Percy Bysshe Shelley, she is known for her Adonias, sonnet Ozymandias, Ode to the West Wind, Individualism. These are the big poets. They keep on writing great. P.B. Shelley died in Rome. It's a voluminous about P.B. Shelley. I'll tell you a few lines about him. P.B. Shelley. Our sweetest songs, he talks about sweetest song. Our sweetest songs are those that tell of saddest thoughts. Please listen to it. Our sweetest songs are those that tell of saddest thought. Rise like lions after slumber. in unvanquishable number, shake your chains to earth like dew, which in sleep had fallen on you. Ye are many, they are few. Ye are many, they are few. हमने आपको अभी बताया कि हम जब रोते हैं तो बहुत सारे ड्रॉपलेट्स होते हैं. कहते हैं अरे you are तो many, you are one, I have to only win the one enemy. How will you win the enemy? Will you hold a weapon? No. The poets have the weapon of a pen. I'll pick up a pen and write my emotions properly, so beautifully, so nicely that I have achieved to it. Rose lips when the rose is dead. देखिए गुलाब के फूल अर्थहीन हो जाता है जब अपने पंखुड़ियों से वो बाहर आ जाता है. Rose leaves when the rose is dead, but it is used for the bed of beloved. Rose leaves when the rose is dead are heaped for the beloved's bed, and so thy thoughts when thou art gone. जब हम मर जाते हैं फिर भी हमारे ऊपर गुलाब के फूल चढ़ा देते हैं. Love itself shall slumber on. Death is the veil which those who live call life. Thy sleep and it is lifted. What is not what. What is not what. What it is will not remain, and what will not remain, you will see them again. That's the PB Shelley. John Keats, he died very young. In 25 years of age he died. John Keats, English romantic poet, who rose to fame after his death, because till he was alive, he did not do well. By the end of the 19th century, he was one of the most loved English poet. His work was in publication only for 4 years before he died. And at the age of 25, he breathed his last. He is most renowned for the 6 great odes written a couple of years before his death in 1819. Out of that, one is quite famous, is Ode to Autumn. I don't read out full, the few lines. And still more, later, flowers for the bees, until they think warm days will never cease, for summer has over brimmed their clammy cells. His English was little difficult. He wrote voraciously in a different way. He says, conspiring with him, how to load and bless. Once he was asked, Keats, what are you doing silently? The church, he was in the church, and priest asked Keats, what are you doing, Keats, here alone? What are you thinking of? His answer was, I'm conspiring with him, means God. I'm conspiring with him how to load and bless. And the priest said, what? And Keats said, with fruit the vines that round the thatch heaps run. And he didn't understand, he went back. Keats was beautiful, and he was a natural poet. I'll have the last poet I'll talk to you about the last poet, Lord Byron, because it will take too long talking about everyone. Probably I'll go through your feedback forms if you were interested. If you'll be interested, we'll have one more show like this on a different note. Lord Byron, George Gordon Byron. He was 6th Baron from 1788 to 1824. He is commonly known as Lord Byron. British poet, leading romantic movement in early 19th century, and he was at the top. Byronic hero, idealized, flawed character, etc. are his famous work. Recently, one of the poem I had asked children to prepare and make a video and send, and many of them did very nicely. Our vice principal also recited, she did it quite well. Listen to it. She walks in beauty like the night. It's from Lord Byron. She walks in beauty like the night, up cloudless climes and steady skies, and all that's best of dark and bright. meet in her aspect and her eyes. Thus mellowed to that tender light, which heaven to godly denies. One shade the more, one ray the less, had half impaired the nameless grace, which waves in every raven tress, or softly lightens over the face. Where thoughts serenely sweet express, how pure, how dear their dwelling place, and on that cheek and over that brow, so soft, so calm, yet eloquent, the smiles that win, the tints that glow, but tell of days in goodness spent, a mind at peace with all below, a heart whose love is innocent. A heart whose love is innocent. This was Lord Byron. Robert Browning was a great, I shall end up here and not tell you more about other poets. I started writing poetry when I was young. But whenever I wrote, either my teachers or my dad said, I copied from somewhere else. So I would write and hide them. I would not show anyone. This carried on till I grew up. Later in my career, some of them got published. And once I sent it to Mr. Khushwant Singh, if you all know Mr. Khushwant Singh. I sent it to him and he sent a letter to me. If you can see, he writes, Dear Prashant, you have my blessings and good wishes. You must know there are few takers for poetry, first by some magazine and then books. I will look forward to read more of your poetry. Best of luck. After that, I took out all my poetry and I compiled them into a book. And my first book was published by him. That's called Image of My Experiences. Image of My Experiences. I write poetry, not as a profession, as a hobby. And I write them. You would like one of my poems, I would like to read it for you or recite it for you. My heart, in spite of my labor and wounds, availed my soul duped hopes, with the mind memories concealed amid the lyre comrade's success in vain. Never know who possessed the field, a flyer or one who fights, but in each painful inch of the heart I find creaks in the main inlets. None could climb down to the depth toward the castle of my heart unseen. Either the sun at its midday height, or in remaining in eastern windows, or in its western look. My heart is haunted by stingless drones from the cradle to the grave, looks for a love's gentle balm in the unseen calm shelter. No matter, it's my heart. No matter, it's my heart, maybe a spongy or a cute one, or an eternal bleak and bare, reduced to misery by a cold and unsolicited storm. Thank you very much for listening to this. And at the end, I shall leave you with a thought. Poetry is ordinary language raised to the nth power. Poetry is ordinary language raised to the nth power. He who draws novel delights from sentiments of poetry is a true poet. Tough, he has never written a line in all. Or He has never written a line at all. George Sand writes in the book called The Devil's Spoon. According to T.S. Eliot, poetry is not an expression of the party line. Poetry is not a turning loose of emotion, but an escape from emotion. It is not the expression of personality, but an escape from personality. But of course, only those who have personality and emotions know what it means to want to escape from these things. I leave you with the kind words, God bless you all. And the poetry is a wonderful thing to happen in our life. You too read some poems, you write some of them. If you can recite some of them and post it to me during this lockdown period, believe me, I'll be more than happy to post it and record it. It doesn't distinguish, I am a teacher, I am a professional, who I am. Poetry is for everyone and for all of us. May it be devotional poem to God and all. I shall be posting 2 videos by our Vice Principal Madam and by our dear colleague Lavdeep Singh. And do listen to them also. And if you post me, believe me, I'll be very happy. Do post me and I'll send them. Thank you very much. God bless you all.